The jungle had always been mysterious, but the things I had heard about this place carried a different kind of fear. People said that this was not just a test of strength. This was where a person faced their own courage. Every year, warriors came here from far away, each with their own reasons. Some wanted fame, some wanted honor, and some had nothing left to lose. I didn't know which reason had brought me here. Maybe I wanted to understand myself. Or maybe I just wanted to know where the limit of fear really ends. When I stepped onto the battlefield, everything looked normal at first. An open area, light movement, activities spread across the distance. But within moments, I started to feel that this place, which looked calm from the outside, was restless inside. Everyone was alert. Everyone was waiting for an opportunity. Someone's mistake, someone's weakness, just waiting for that one moment. That was when I understood for the first time that the fight here wasn't only against the enemy standing in front of you, but also against the invisible pressure that stays with you every second. I didn't try to rush. Experience had taught me that those who run at the beginning rarely reach the end. So I stopped myself, slowed my breathing, and started reading the situation. Time felt like it had slowed down, but my heartbeat was doing the opposite. I could feel that someone was watching me. Maybe not just one, but many. It was a strange feeling, like you were alone and not alone at the same time. That was the rule of this place. No one was ever completely safe here. For a while, things went fine. I started thinking maybe it wouldn't be as difficult as I had imagined. But the jungle has a habit. It never stays quiet for too long. Slowly, the atmosphere began to change. Sounds increased. Movements became faster. And then the moment came when I realized the real test had begun. There was no way back now. In that moment, a simple truth stood in front of me. Move forward or end here.
My heart was beating so fast that I could hear it in my ears. But at the same time, my mind reminded me of something else. Fear is not always the enemy. Sometimes it keeps you alert. It keeps you alive. I steadied myself. The situation wasn't easy. Everything was changing every second. Sometimes it felt like everything was under my control, and the very next moment, it felt like it was slipping away. That was the real test. Not of strength, but of patience and decision. Many times it felt like maybe this story would end here, today. But somewhere inside, a voice kept saying that not yet. There was still more left. And maybe that voice kept pushing me forward. Then a moment came, the kind that comes in every warrior's life at least once. A small opportunity, a small decision that can change everything. Time seemed to slow down. The noise around me disappeared. Even the fear faded away. Only one question remained. Was I ready? I stopped thinking and trusted. Myself, my decision. And in that moment, everything changed. When silence finally returned around me, I realized that I was still standing, exhausted, but alive. There was no feeling of victory, only a deep understanding. This wasn't the end. This was only the beginning. Because the rule of this jungle is simple. Once you win, you have to come back again. And every time, the challenge becomes harder than before. I looked up at the sky and took a slow breath. Now I knew that this path would never be easy. But going back was no longer possible. The real story had just begun. Looking up at the sky, I realized for the first time that the real challenge was not over yet. There was a strange silence in the air, as if the jungle itself was waiting for the next event to unfold. The marks on the ground told a story. Many people had stood here before me, and many had fallen. But in that moment, I understood something else too. In this place, winning does not just mean surviving. Here, winning means being chosen for the next battle. I had thought this would be a one-time experience, but after a while, I began to feel that this was actually part of a sequence. Every match was a piece of a much bigger game. Someone was watching us. Someone was deciding who would move forward and who would end here. The thought was frightening, yet strangely exciting at the same time, because it meant one thing. I was still in the game. The air in the jungle no longer felt the same. There was a heaviness in it, as if countless stories were hidden within it. Danger could come from any direction, and within that danger, there was also a strange attraction. The human mind wants to run away from danger, but the heart sometimes gets pulled toward it. Maybe that was why I was still moving forward. As I walked, memories from my past started coming back. The time when I first entered a battle. Back then, I believed strength was everything. The strongest person would always win. But today, I understood that strength is only the beginning. The real game is about the mind, about patience, and about the trust a person has in themselves when everything else feels uncertain. There was movement somewhere ahead. My body became alert automatically. By now, this reaction had become a habit. Every sound could mean an opportunity or a threat. In this place, it was never easy to tell the difference. And that was the true challenge of this tournament. Nothing here followed clear rules. Everything kept changing. As time passed, I started realizing that I was not the only one walking this path. Somewhere, others were thinking the same things I was thinking. The same fear, the same hope, the same questions. But the biggest truth of this place is simple. No matter how many people are around, in the end, everyone is alone. Fatigue was slowly starting to settle in, but along with it came a strange energy. Maybe it was the same feeling that pushes people forward, even in the hardest situations. The body wants to stop, but the mind says, not yet. There is still more left. Then suddenly, everything changed. What had felt calm suddenly became intense, as if some invisible signal had been given that the time had come. In that moment, I understood that this place had never truly been quiet. It had only been preparing. And now, the real test was in front of me. My heartbeat sped up again. But this time, along with fear, there was another feeling. Confidence. Because now, I knew I was not as weak as I used to be. What I had seen, what I had endured, had changed me. Every decision felt clearer than before. I remember the moment when I thought, if I have made it this far today, I can go further. That thought is what makes a person different. Between defeat and victory, the difference is often just this. Who keeps believing until the very last second? Time seemed to slow down again. Everything around me looked clear. Every movement, every sound, every possibility. This was the moment I had probably come here for, even if I had not realized it at the beginning. And then, everything happened very fast. Just a few seconds, but those seconds held the entire experience. Fear, decision, reaction, trust, all at once. And when it was over, I was still standing. My breathing was heavy. My body was tired. But inside, there was a deep calm.
I understood something. This was no longer just a tournament. It had become a journey where every step changes a person. No one who comes here remains the same as they were at the beginning. But in that same moment, another thought appeared. If I can reach this far already, then where does this game actually end? How many battles are still left? How many more tests? And the biggest question, does anyone ever truly leave this place as a complete winner? The jungle air began to move again, as if it had heard my questions. And in that moment, I felt it. The next chapter had already begun. I took a step forward, because going back was no longer possible. And maybe I didn't want to go back anymore.